And to make our first presentation, the opening presentation, we have partner PwC. Let's hear it for Mr. Anurag Mathur. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make up for the numbers and give him a warm round of applause. Anurag Mathur, over to you.
I think as we've looked at it over many years, and I've seen this forum now for almost 6 years, and every year I think about is how does the conversation change, right? How has retail evolved? How is this year and how is the next going to be? And what is the change that we'll see this year? And I think as I was thinking about what to put down this year and looking at the multiple types of research that we do and seeing what is coming in or what's the actual numbers looking like. And really there was this question, I think, of saying that is this a year of growth or is this the year to look at cost reduction? And where is the consumer going? Where is the trend of the consumer changing towards? What are really global companies learning? And I think the only piece that I could say calmly was that we've come to a place where both offline and online retail have learned to live in calm with each other. There is an extent of peace, there is an extent of knowing each other's ways of life, building towards what the other has to offer, getting to understand the digital consumer. I think 5, 6 years back, as digital hit us, the offline retailers struggled to get their feet around, their arms around the entire play. But as we are seeing and hearing from consumers now, things are very different. There is still a lot of play on both sides, but there is a lot of learning. So I said, let's put down what's, how has perspective evolved this year, and we'll share a quick snapshot really of what are some of the pieces that we see. I think this is something, the global megatrends clearly have continued to impact businesses, have continued to impact retail. How have they changed in terms of impact this year? Clearly, demographic and social change continues to drive within the country. 50% of population below 25, large chunk disposable income above, close to hitting $2,200, 2019. If the economists are to be believed, the inflection point of consumption growth, coupled with a small but large number of seniors and a very, very evolving attitude towards consumption. Whether it's digitally led, whether it is the way they spend, whether it's just well-heeled and well-traveled and what they are looking for. So the entire rich India, middle India, poor India, expressing their consumption desires in a very, very distinct way. Shifts in economic power, I think, is again, while it's a global trend, very reflective in India. Last week, I was reading an article about how global retailers in India have finally found success and are defining the way Indian companies are doing retail and doing business. The first few years of global retailers, they were trying to, whether it was fashion apparel companies, trying to get their arms around the assortment, trying to get their arms around what Indian consumers really want and buy. Today, if I see entrants, I think the fact that we can't be ignored as a retail market, everybody knows. 1.4 billion people, 800 billion, we add 80 billion to retail every year. We don't have a single retail brand over $2 billion. Of course, it's the most exciting market in retail in the world, right? Can't be ignored. At the same time, a lot of global retailers weren't finding that success and were struggling to see how we will make this work. Should we go to China instead? Should we go elsewhere instead? We've seen big entrants coming even last year, this year. The change in FDI policy is driving that even further. We are seeing a lot more interest from larger players. We still get queries every month around grocery FDI on multiple parts of fashion FDI. So this shift is very reflective in saying that both the Indian consumption stories as well as global retailers making their sort of home in India will become a phenomenon. And this will challenge existing resources. This will challenge existing real estate space. It's a paucity of great real estate that we have in this country for doing retail, which will get challenged by investors moving in and trying to build space within that. Further built upon by accelerating urbanization. I think we've talked about these numbers, 30% in the 2011 census, 40% in the by 2030 of urbanization. But I think the real numbers really to be looked at is within the country, 450 million people move about, right? There is not just rural to urban shift, but urban to urban shift. People coming into the big cities, swelling at the masses every day. Where is the retail to serve them? Where is the assortments to serve them? They are coming with their own desires for what they've been buying. Yes, they will go to a brand, but they want to buy what they've been buying. Is the product in place? Is the pricing in place? Is the locations in place? And of course, all of this and the paucity of space, traffic, etc., that it creates a ever increasing journey to the online way. I think the big call out though for this year that I have is the entire climate change, resource scarcity, or the sustainability part to life for India. For years, and this is a slide I've used many years just to see how those trends are changing. But I think the big change that I've seen this year, and we'll see it in some of the consumer research results as well, is that the Indian consumer is finally waking up to sustainability. The Indian corporate is finally waking up to sustainability. The Indian government is finally waking up to it. A big example is plastic. You see it in front of you. Water, another big one. Food scarcity, not very far. There is a genuine need to conserve. There is a desire to conserve. There is a reward for brands who will conserve. For many years, I would say that the Indian consumer didn't care. As long as cheaper, smarter, brighter, frankly, they don't care about whether it's sustainable or not. But there is a glimmer of hope, if I can, of consumers genuinely changing towards or wanting to buy products and services that are more sustainable. And I think technological breakthroughs clearly continue for the always-on generation. There is a desire to get the next new thing in town. They are willing to try out a lot of different things in different pieces, and we'll talk about this a little more. Of course, the mega trends are shaping what we've seen as, let's say, 4 big opportunities. There is the big value focus piece of saying that yes, all of these trends, but are still very, very value focused. We are seeing the more value-led businesses grow faster. There is the likes of athleisure, which moves into health and wellness, and this is across the board, whether it's on food and grocery, whether it's fashion apparel, whether it's consumer electronics. The value focus is very clearly visible. Health and wellness, another big one. The desire to eat good, look good, feel good continues to drive consumers. It is the largest trend in food. It is driving a very large part of fashion, the desire for better fits, the desire for yoga pants, for the lack of thing, the growing number of athleisure choices, the number of services behind this, fitness services, activities, the growing number of players who are now, whether it is wearables from an electronic standpoint. So multiplicity of products and services. It's driving consumer choices in many, many, many different fields. Personalization, and this is not just for products, services, in just service choices, how consumers just expect people to know their tastes. They expect, they've gotten used to the hyper-personalization of social media, they've got used to hyper-personalization of multiple things that they do online, and they expect it now in the offline world. They want products to be, them to be treated as individuals and provided services and individuals. Again, I go back to my rich India, poor India, middle India theory. The rich India is clearly looking at saying that we don't want middle of the rung products. We know what happens anywhere in the world. We can buy it, access it online, we can access elsewhere, but we need to get the premium. We need to, and finally we are seeing products with a significant premium getting to large chunks of a company's business. Earlier it used to be a 2-3% kind of thing that, okay, we also have a premium portfolio. Now I would say there are companies who are actually growing faster on the premium side and building to 25-30%, middle-rung companies growing to 25-30% premium portfolio, right? Leading out. Consumer behavior, again, significant shift, and I won't drain this. I think the only 2 points I want to make here is best in class everywhere is a clear desire that consumers are saying. It is not about your industry. And I think, again, something that I would like to repeat often as I can. Still, as many clients and as many companies I meet today, they look at a fashion apparel retailer looks at saying what other fashion apparel retailers are doing. A consumer electronic guy looks at saying what other electronics players are doing. The consumers are not looking like that. They are simply saying, if I go to Starbucks, I get a great experience. When I come to your store, why can't I get that same great experience? I don't care what you sell. I want the same experience, right? If Uber has a fantastic interface, why doesn't your app have a fantastic interface? I don't care what product your app is selling. So they are looking for best in class everywhere. There is a clear desire towards this. right? Openness to new, I think digital native online advocacy, you will hear a lot about the desire for merging experiences, and I think the next session focuses on the desire for experience in retail and how that's changing. But all of these put together, and I would like to just strip on a little bit on the more open to new. I think the consumer is going there, and the numbers from this year's survey that I'll put out, so we do this every year across 43,000 people, 38 countries, see what consumers are saying and changing. I think the three big callouts, one, as I said, the numbers on sustainability, looking for products with environmentally friendly packaging, interested in purchases of an electric vehicle, some of those sustainability taglines, and this is the first time that the India numbers are actually higher than global numbers on some of these, right? Second big one is clearly the influence of social media, and the influence of social media not just in online purchase, but also in offline purchase. They are very clearly looking at when they are going offline, they're clicking, sending, they're trying to build that experience, and I think what retail can drive into their store experience and how they can merge this seamlessly is a big question that consumers are asking. Right? Health and wellness, again, big one. 75% of consumers have 3 or more healthcare and wellness apps on their smart device. More and more bothered about this, more and more careful about this. Despite this, I don't see retailers helping, offline retailers, helping consumers navigate health and wellness in their stores. Yes, you will have a section with products led there. You will have products with, slim fits there. But helping them navigate within a store, which is what online players do very well, of saying, how do I find a healthier choice? How do I find a fitter choice? How do I find, I would say a lot of offline retailers still struggle with that. But it's a big need that consumers are calling out and being it still. As a consequence, clearly traditional retailers are responding. They are evaluating, innovating store footprint, small format, neighborhood markets, store closures, and I think as we are seeing, I was discussing earlier with Mla, I think we are at a place where I'm not willing to yet call it a slowdown, but at the same time, I'm not far from saying that there isn't a slowdown. So it's a market with very, very mixed signals at the moment. Consumption numbers have dropped, but consumer retail, most companies are still in early double digits despite drops. The PFCE number, the consumption expenditure, has dropped, but again at about 6% plus. So there is still hope, but this is the time to really reevaluate and build what we are doing as a business. So there is clearly, the store footprint, the levels of convenience at store, whether it's curbside, almost pickups, there is a lot of desire to add this at the same cost for consumers, although they are willing to pay for a fair degree of consumers, and leveraging technology through the network. Again, I will not drain this, just want to spend half a minute to say that despite all of these and looking at the trends, success is not just about doing per trend. It is about doing what is aligned to your core proposition and what is aligned with capabilities. The chart that shows out, and we've looked at these numbers for, again, moving over several years. Higher omni-channel does not necessarily translate into higher margin or higher traffic growth or higher revenue growth. The players who've actually done the best is either the purely online guys in the last 5 years on margin revenue, which is Amazon, or surprisingly the purely offline guys, Primark and Ross, which have largely there, or the likes of Inditex and Marmax, which have been very little the online front, because other companies who've sort of tried to go there have struggled with either building capabilities or investing the right costs or building the right cost structures behind them. So that's a big question that I want to leave you with, to say that it is about still getting the proposition right, getting the experience right, and executing with excellence. The trends overlay that fundamentally, not the other way around. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great event today.
Thank you very